Hi everyone, welcome back to Conversations with Nia. I'm super excited to be back again recording and now having in-person panel conversation. Today we're going to be focusing on African men. This episode is titled African Men Tell All. We have 3 African men in studio with us today, one from Angola, one from Nigeria, and one from Ghana, okay? We're going to be exploring different themes, what it's like to live in America and the diaspora, what has their experience been like, what made them move to America to try to achieve the American dream. And then we'll be talking about the African to African relationship. Do Africans like each other? Do we hate Nigerian? Whose jollof rice is better? Is it Niger jollof rice or Ghanaian jollof rice? Okay. Then third, we'll be focusing on relationship, how African women feel about African men and their response. Stay tuned, we have an amazing show and I can't wait for you all to watch. Stay tuned. So joining me today is the amazing Mr. Uche. We also have Kofi in the studio and Gil. Now, like I said, all 3 men are from 3 different African countries. Gil here to my left is from Angola.
Yes.
Okay. And then Kofi is from Ghana. Correct. And Mr. Uche, my person. Uche is Nigerian, Igbo Kwenu.
I don't know how to respond.
Uche has disowned me for this show. He's not, associated with me today until the show is over. But guys, I am so excited to have you all here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for accommodating and responding to my invite. How are you feeling?
Feeling great.
I feel a bit parched. I didn't have any water. But...
We're going to take that out.
Also.
So, I really wanted to have this conversation because I think it's just important to hear men's perspective. I don't think you get to hear that often, especially African men here in the US as immigrants. So I wanted to explore, I think that for this first segment, I wanted to explore what has it been like for you in America? Like maybe first, why did you move to America? Then we can go on to what your experience has been like. Anyone can go first.
I'll go first.
Shorter story, right?
Yeah. For me, I was very young when I moved here, right? So about 3 years old. So my parents obviously moved to America for, better opportunity, right? This is the land of opportunity, as they said. So that was the reason behind us moving here. So.
Okay, you were moved here.
Yeah.
You didn't move, you were moved.
He was moved.
I get you.
Because you moved when you were 2 years old.
Right. Yeah.
So you had no say.
Yeah. I had no say, exactly. I couldn't say much to begin with, so there was no option. They didn't converse with me.
There was no communication with you prior. What about you, Gil?
Well, mine is probably not much longer than his anyway. I was about on my early teens, and it was primarily for school. So Angola at the time was really at war, and my mother's, and I say mothers because it was my mother and her older sister.
Okay.
So I'm keeping tradition in mind here. So both of them, they had agreed that it was better for me to come and go to school.
Okay.
So they just made that decision like overnight. I was supposed to catch my flight to go back, and they were like, "Oh, you're not going back.
You're staying here.
You're gonna go to school here." So I ended up staying, and my younger brother, went back.
Oh my goodness.
Back to Portugal.
I would love to explore that even more, but let's go to Uche and then we can come back to, what you just said, Uche.
My case is a bit different.
Okay.
My family and myself, we moved to the US like 16 months ago.
Okay, 16 months ago.
Yeah, last May, yeah.
Wow. So you're fresh off the boat.
I don't know what fresh means right now. It's about 1 year getting into the system, right?
Yeah.
So what was the reason behind you coming?
We had an immigration filing I didn't want to use because I love to live in Nigeria. I feel more relevant at home.
Okay.
I work in the visual arts field and I felt more relevant at home, but we had a few incidences that happened that it became very imperative that we had to leave.
Okay.
But I'd like to summarize by saying I believe I'm in the US to kind of supervise a very critical stage in my family's development.
Mm.
That's how I like to see it.
Okay. And it's personal, you can't share, of course.
This is my kids. I have 2 boys,
Okay.
teens, and being able to have the exposure to widen their scope about life, about other cultures, and their education as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I felt it was good to come to the US.
Right, so that makes sense. So I guess the overarching theme I'm hearing here is for opportunities, right? A better life to move here. And I like to define it as people coming here to find that American or to live the American dream. Gil, you mentioned, you were here for school, your brother moved back, they left you here. What was that like for you? How did you cope by yourself without parental supervision in your teens?
Yeah, I mean, I had my aunt who's my mother's older sister, right?
Okay.
She actually, Adelia Cardozo, she lived in this country since the 1960s. She's also actually one of the individuals that came in around the time President Kennedy was pulling in Africans in order to, the United States was accommodating Africans in order to develop them for Africa's newer leadership because African countries were starting to get their independence. So she came in on that wave of Africans, and she was here. So I'm here in the in the mid 80s, mid to late 80s. So it just kind of clicked on you. You left one mom, now you got a new mom, and her husband, my uncle, basically played the father figure. And I was lucky enough to actually be moved into a completely self-sufficient, historic Black community, African American community. So it was almost, from one perspective, it was almost like, okay, I moved from the urban setting into the country. But I think the greatest thing that I got out of there and I never lost was the sense of family, because these are guys who knew each other. They all helped each other, and I'm coming from that sort of an environment. So that kind of kept it home.
African men pride themselves in their masculinity, in being strong, right? Strong. Hey, I'm a man. Don't talk to me that way. I'm a man.
Guys, you know where this is going, right?
No. This is good. And so that's what was hard for me to articulate at first. Did you ever feel, while living here in a different land that's not home, did you ever feel like your masculinity was challenged? And in what way? Anyone can go in.
Yeah, which.
No. In the context of African culture, what you're calling masculinity is, in the eyes of an anthropologist, a visitor, it might be that way. But if you looked at the same issue, the social structure, which stems from the family in Africa, I don't know how different it is from my brothers in Ghana or Angola. I think the fabric is pretty much the same. In Igbo land, the word for man is dimpa. Dimpa means Dinewumpa, problem solver. And that's a very powerful position to be. It's also a very dangerous position. I call it dangerous because you have a lot of responsibility to deal with, and listening to clinical psychologists who are dealing with the issue of masculinity and gender and all that stuff. I listened to somebody called Jordan Peterson, and what he's saying is that there's been a misconception about gender. My belief as a Christian is that that man is a compound creature. Like, for example, you can't divulge a woman from a man. What am I without my woman? What is a woman without her man? It's become a very difficult terrain to talk about these days, especially in the US, like you mentioned. But at home, the rules are clearly defined. Okay. And it's not a problem. Yeah, it's not a problem.
So we're going to touch more on those roles, because that's going to be very controversial. But I really want to know, in terms of, your masculinity being challenged in America. For instance, let me provide more context. Maybe you had to wash dishes, right? Or take up like low-level jobs to sustain yourself. And you felt like, I'm this, strong African man and I carry deep by, like you said. So do you ever have those kind of experiences while living in America?
Well, I think that, culture in that plays a big role, right?
Okay.
Like, for instance, in Angola, I come from Angola, in all honesty, it's a very matriarch country, right? It's not by accident that it is the home of Queen Zinga Mbandi. It's a very matriarch society. So men, as part of being romantic, washing dishes and doing certain tasks that their wives do, is really part of being
this
romantic.
Is interesting.
Right. That's part of getting the lady. Yeah, that's part of getting the lady. That's part of being Casanova and everything, right? And that's seriously. That no wonder why you see that. For instance, the guy with the most children in Africa, right? He was from Namibia, which is part of Angola. It's just part of who we are. We in a romantic note, we do those kind of things. My mother taught me how to cook, and I cook very well. I clean without a problem at all. I don't think that challenges the masculinity. But as far as from doing tasks and things of that sort, no, not at all. I'm
working low-level jobs. That was very okay.
That's for us. As long as you're providing with dignity, you make it sexy as you're doing it.
Okay, I like that. What about you? What are your sentiments?
Yeah, it's definitely different. In Ghana, it's more in line with how Nigeria is.
Okay.
It's more the man is the leader, the provider, the protector, and stuff like that. Our way of romanticizing is by providing and making sure there's food to be cooked. In a different kind of way, and just being like the head of the household. That's like real strong in Ghanaian culture. So as far as like masculinity being challenged, me personally, I didn't have that issue. Like, I don't know what you mean by low level job. I mean, I worked retail, my first job. So I mean, I don't know if that's considered low level, but even a service job or whatever.
No, there's like real.
There's real low.
Yeah.
There's like washing toilets and stuff.
Oh,
those kind of jobs. Those kind of jobs.
I never felt like I had to. I mean, I just felt like I can make myself apply to any opportunity. So
what about challenges in this regard? Like, and I mentioned this earlier, being insulted by Americans. So you never had that experience?
No, I never had that experience because remember, I came into I grew up in Bryan's Road, Indian Head. To give you a specific space, that's Fort Washington. This is the home of J.C. Parks. These guys, historically, I mean, the most educated African Americans came from that area.
Okay.
Right? So these individuals, their way of thinking, their society operated like self-sufficiently. I mean, there was autosufficient, really. When I say autosufficient, you had a mechanic, they built homes. If someone was getting married, they all got together, built the home for the new married couple, and so it was entirely different, man. They when they went hunting, they got deer meat. They came home, they shared that meat with the ones that ate that. I never tried. I'm still.
I just think it's beautiful how everyone's experience has been different. Because I thought we all had the same experience. But this is interesting to hear.
Yeah. So I never been called that, but I've seen. A little bit of, how can I say, disassociation to Africa in a lot of people's, and a sense of disdain to Africa in a lot of people's ways of thinking. But I truly believe that part of that is the ignorance, and the other thing is the fact that they never really got, and that's primarily for African Americans, most of them never really got to hear the story from another African, right? Yeah. Our stories, and Africans, we never got to hear the story from them neither. There's always been someone communicating or a liaison talking.
Or curating that story.
Exactly. It's never been us.
We're not the narrators.
Yes, we're not the narrators of the story.
But the thing is also to be careful how we frame these thoughts, because the what you call or what you've defined as African masculinity it's changing a lot.
It is changing, yes.
In fact, I do the dishes at home right now. And I was talking with my kids because I love doing dishes. I love it. My background is in sculpture, in visual art, so I always make things with my hands. And I don't see that it's not a big deal, but my father's era, it could have
was a
been.
big deal.
Yes, but
So
now,
is this a good thing, Uche, that it's changing?
I think it's a beautiful thing. I think we're responding to the change, global change that we must respond to survive. Because even for the women, it's quite different as well.
Yeah.
Because you must respond to the new needs for the children. Families change a lot. A lot of the trajectory is incredibly very dynamic. Things are not the way they used to be.
Yes.
You can't let the kids do some stuff, or the kids can't let you do some stuff sometimes. So we have to be very, we've evolved.
Yes.
So an average Nigerian man is not a chauvinist,
diaspora.
even at home.
Even at home now.
Yeah,
Wow.
you cannot be that chauvinistic anymore.
So we're going to explore all of this later. I'm going to slowly wrap up this segment for the sake of time, but just very, very quickly, has your experience in America been so far positive or negative?
Mine very, very positive.
Very positive, very good.
I've always told people this. I've really been blessed. I'm a guy who in Africa played soccer, good student. Actually in Africa I didn't play soccer. I played hockey on roller skates. I got to America, and 7 months later, I'm in the county paper for playing soccer.
Wow.
Right? So that's
There are opportunities here. Every African must just come through DC moving forward. Come through DC so you can have this kind of experience. What about you, Kofi? Very quickly, has it been positive or?
Oh yeah, very, very positive.
Okay.
The biggest thing is the opportunities here, and like the chances, and the range of what you can do is so diverse. Anything you can do, you can be successful in it. Like, you just have to really be aggressive about what you want to do.
Yes.
But if you are aggressive about what you want to do, the opportunity is there. The lane is there. Everything you need is there. Like, to be able to communicate with other people that can give you what you need to, and the resources are here. So
Perfect.
very, very positive.
And Uche, what about you? And then also add this to your response. Do you regret bringing your family here? Because it's only been 16 months.
I don't regret it.
You don't regret it.
And I never said that.
Yeah.
I'm just asking. I'm asking if you regret it.
The
You
kids
never
love
say
it.
that.
They love
Wow.
it. They're having a good time. The boys are playing football, American football.
Nice.
My wife is a caterer. She makes incredible food. And a lot of
We could have had that food here, right?
Exactly. Let's
So
not
what?
She will talk about food, guys.
No, let's not talk about
Jollof rice. Ghana and Nigeria.
We're gonna that's the next segment. Yes, we're gonna come back to that. But yeah, very quickly your response.
Yeah, so 16 months for me is not enough time to say good or bad.
Okay.
But I'm designed not to see bad. I'm always focused on the good,
Okay.
because it's better for my mental health, and also because of my faith in God, to see only challenges as good, although there have been difficult times.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that hit me in the US was this very brutal capitalist system of economy. For instance, when I moved into this complex of apartments, and in just 12 months of living there, I saw I've seen over 7 eviction notices on people's doors, and I'm like, these are regular guys. Somebody took his own life in the complex as well. So the system is so unforgiving, and it's all tilted towards money. And this is something I find very weird coming from Nigeria. In Nigeria, the economy, everything is a bit humanized. You can come short full of maybe paying a rent, and you can go to your debtor and say, your creditor and say, please, I don't have money. You say, okay, you can have a negotiation. You can say, okay, give me a part of it, and you can be a part of it later. But if you default on a credit card, then they're going to make you pay more. So those things are very weird to me.
Yeah, that's really one of the biggest shocks, I think, to most Africans in America, is the fact that the liberty is there for you to do what you want to do. But in all honesty, the consequences also of what you do, if they are bad consequences, they'll weigh on you full load.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So that's also, are you saying, Gil, we should also think about what liberty means, really?
Yeah, the cost of liberty.
Or is liberty
itself.
really liberty?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the cost of it, right? That's the cost of it. And that's why family structure. For instance, what you're doing with your children is important. Making sure that you're there to make sure that they still understand and have a bit of what it is like to grow in Nigeria and become a man in Nigeria.
So again, we have to cut it here, but this is good. So many takeaways from this. We're gonna, take it into the next segment.